Anybody here like any sports? Have a favorite?
Kind
What's your favorite?
of. Basketball is really interesting to watch, and so is baseball. I would say those are my two.
That's good. So my favorite sport is gymnastics. And this is why I believe that gymnastics is a great sport and it really deserves more recognition, especially when it's seen compared to a sport like football. So first, let's talk numbers. Statista.com says that a regular NFL game averages about 16.7 million viewers. A college football game is about 5 million. But what about an NCAA gymnastics meet? FrontOfficeSports.com says less than 1 million. 72% of the population watches live NFL football games. But maybe this is all justified. A lot of the reasons why people like sports are they're seen as dangerous, difficult, or training. Isn't football all of those things? Well, yes it is, but gymnastics is too, and here's the breakdown of that. So in terms of danger, WTOP.com says that the CDC states that football has the most injuries, but that actually when you look at the general danger of all of the NCAA sports, it ranks third, where women's gymnastics ranks second. So women's gymnastics is actually more dangerous than football, at least NCAA level. Difficulty, this is my personal opinion, but what do you think is harder? Running across a field, throwing a football, catching one, albeit while you're being chased by a lot of people, or flipping 10 plus feet in the air off of, doing a side flip off of a beam that is smaller across than the ball of your foot, less than 4 inches across, and running straight forward at a solid object and doing a triple flip with a triple twist off of it. It's up to you, but I would highly recommend that you watch some college games or college meets and tell me that that's not hard. And none of this is to say that football is an easy sport or that it's not a good sport, but just that gymnastics is under-recognized, which is very well seen in contrast with football. But in terms of training, professionalshq.com says that has a breakdown of the time spent that football players have. And in that we see, for example, Tom Brady started football in high school. And I would venture to say that that's not uncommon, considering tackle football is generally not played by very young people. So by the end of college, the average football player averages about 4,700 hours, 5,000 hours playing football. And that's not a small number, don't get me wrong. And then when it comes to the NFL, they're training for 3 to 4 hours a day. But in gymnastics, most gymnasts start younger. For example, Simone Biles started when she was 6 years old, and most gymnasts start even younger, as young as even 1 or 2 years old, sometimes before they can even walk, building strength. And so it's hard to know exactly how many hours young gymnasts have spent training because it varies so much from gymnast to gymnast because of skill level. But considering the number that we're trying to beat is 4,700, if we look at a gymnast who started at age 6, finished college at 22, by the end of college, if they only had 4,700 hours, that would average out to less than 1 hour per week. And no college gymnasts train for 20 hours a week. So we can say pretty securely that college gymnasts have had more training, are more experienced in terms of time. And college and elite level gymnastics, the gymnasts are usually training for 30 to 50 or more hours per week, which is more than the NFL. So it's more dangerous, probably similar in terms of difficulty, and requires more training to be at high levels. And yet football still has over 16 times more viewers. So those were all objective facts that I found in research, but here are just some subjective opinions on why I think gymnastics is cool, also based on facts. So a gymnast experiences 5.5 gravitational G's while flipping. That is more than a fast roller coaster. If you've ever gone on the Mr. Freeze at Six Flags, that's 4 G's. The Batman, less than 5, 5.5. In addition to this, we experience 2,500 to 3,500 newtons of force when we land. That is more than the strongest bite force of a lion, and about that of a black bear, which is why it is so difficult to land correctly and why we have a lot of, especially leg injuries. If you land wrong, you shatter those bones, and that's why we have to land so precisely. In addition, when we land, it's about 1,500 to 2,500 joules of energy. That's enough to power a 100-watt light bulb for 25 seconds. That is a lot for a human to produce, especially when we look at the average jump of a female, which is 1.5 feet, lands with about 200 joules, so that's very different from 2,500. In addition, where do you see such cool skills like this? I can think of two, cheer and circus, maybe dance. But the thing with all those is they're all floor tumbling, and I have nothing against floor tumbling, it's my favorite kind, but to get the full gymnastic experience, you have to watch the full sport. So I can only speak for myself about this, but gymnastics is hard. I started in 2018 training at home, and I was out in the front yard for 3 to 4 hours a day training. Now I'd be considered about a level 6 or 7 in terms of floor level out of 10. And I got my standing back tuck in mid-2020, and now I'm working on my front half off of a trampoline and off of a mini tramp, and my round off tuck, getting that good enough for a twist. It's not easy, I've experienced this firsthand. And so the amount of training that goes into all of this is so much. And I can't do a whole lot in here because concrete floor and I don't want to get injured. But I can just show you some of the things that I was able to do after about 2 years of training. It's not easy, and that was after about 2 years, and generally that takes closer to 4 or 5 years unrestricted, or restricted. But I was unrestricted in my training because I was at home. That's a whole other can of worms. But imagine 20 plus years in the sport. That is a lot of work and a lot of effort that goes into it, and gymnastics has a disappointingly small audience for the amount of effort and work that goes into it. So in conclusion, women's gymnastics is very difficult, and I would highly encourage you to give it a shot whenever you can. Women's gymnastics World Championships start Saturday, September 30th.